Thanks for tuning into Bricks. I'm Chris, and I feel like I was just complaining about some overpriced LEGO sets on the channel recently. The recent LEGO Star Wars releases had an egregiously overpriced battle pack for $45. But alas, I believe that set may have been unseated as the worst price set of the year. I don't know how that's possible, but this is the Avengers Endgame Thor vs. Chitauri set. It comes with 373 pieces. Guess right now in the comments, how expensive do you think this set is? Now let me explain. It does come with a new version of Iron Patriot, a new Rocket Raccoon from Endgame, Thor, of course, and 4 Chitauri, could be a good battle pack. 373 pieces. Wild guess. How much money? If you guessed $55, you would be sadly correct, because this is $55 which is maybe the most ridiculous price set that has come out in recent history. I'm here to show my early thoughts on the set, let you know what I think, give my honest opinions, and tell you, is there really any merit to getting this set at all? So join me for this early review right now of the $55, 373-piece Avengers Endgame Thor vs. Chitauri. Next up, we have our next $55 set, and I am not joking when I say this might be the most overpriced set of the entire year. And that is saying quite a lot, because I just reviewed the LEGO Star Wars August Wave. This is 76322 Avengers Endgame Thor vs. Chitauri. It comes with 373 pieces, retails for €50 and $55 US, which is a whopping 14.7 price per part ratio. Now I know price per part is not everything, and I understand there's a lot of other factors that go into a set's value, but having seen what's in front of me here, I do not understand where the value is coming from. You have your standard $10 or maybe $12 LEGO Marvel mech, which is featured here. You have a small side build for the creature here, which couldn't be more than $10. At my most generous, worth of value, you have a couple of Chitauri speeders. Okay, maybe those are 5 each. Again, very generous, but let's call that 5 each. And then a little stand for Thor, which is another 5. So at most, this shouldn't be more than $35, and that is already being very generous to the set. I don't really understand what happened here. It's not really a very good battle pack, because while it does come with 4 different Chitauri minifigures, which kind of sounds like it could be an endgame battle pack, I mean, you'd also get War Machine, Rocket, and Thor in it, so you don't want to get an army of them, so I don't really understand who this set is made for. What I will say though, is that as a fan of buildable LEGO action figures and construction mechs, I actually kinda like this mech for what it is. I almost wish this was released as its own set, like the War Machine mech and Rocket. That could have been a great little 2-pack mech set with Rocket standing on the shoulder with 2 minifigures in one set, and that would have been a really cool set to get, with a great minifigure selection and a very nice bulky Iron Patriot / War Machine armor. I remember sitting in the movie theater watching Endgame and seeing this super cool Iron Patriot armor and going, wow, I cannot wait to get that in a year. And well, now we're 6 years later and we're finally getting it in a LEGO set, but thankfully the minifigure itself doesn't disappoint. I'll highlight the minifigure a little more when we take a look at the minifigures by themselves, but altogether I love the amount of detail factored in. I just think the Iron Patriot design is just such a cool color scheme for an Iron Man suit in general, so I'm a fan of how they pulled this one off. Would it have been better if LEGO introduced a brand new style of figure, similar to Axel from Nexo Knights, which just bulked him up a little bit more instead of having to put him in a mech, which doesn't really make sense for the scale of the characters? Absolutely. I think that would be a lot better, but before LEGO does that, I'm a lot happier just having them do it as mechs, because it's better getting them as mechs versus not getting them at all. Again, I do think I'm in the minority of people who actually kinda like these as playable things, because I am very partial towards mechs and action figures. I think a big figure would be better, like some sort of a hybrid between a big fig and a regular fig, but it's still cool to get that as a minifig altogether. Now, for the villain faction here, we have one of the beasts seen in the Avengers Endgame final battle, and this is actually a pretty remarkably posable creature. The headpiece is printed, which makes sense because LEGO has historically always printed that element. It is interesting to see them decide to use that piece fully printed for a creature like this. Don't know if that will ever appear again, but it kind of reminds me of some of the older style of LEGO pieces, like we used to get race cars with printed decals like that, and Altogether, it is, again, remarkably posable. You can move the front and back legs, you can articulate all the fingers and the claws, and technically you can kind of get this to stand up on two legs. I don't think it ever really stood up on two legs in the movie, but obviously you can use your imagination and just play around with it, and there you have it. Standing up on two legs, this kind of becomes a good opponent to the War Machine mech itself. They're around the same scale. Of course, this is not 100% movie accurate. If you actually look at what this looks like in the movie, I think that this is like maybe an okay play scale representation, but it doesn't really look that much like the creatures in the movie. But I agree that those creatures would be kind of hard to depict as a LEGO set in general, especially on a play scale, so I think it's okay for what it is. It almost feels like a mole type of creature with these large hands, these very beady eyes, and I think that definitely works in the favor of it. It really does feel like a unique animal or creature that we, again, have never seen before from LEGO Marvel. The chains with handles on them are obviously meant to have a minifigure ride it, but the chains are unfortunately too short to actually be usable as handles. They're mostly just there for aesthetics, and really they're just there to kind of have them drag along the bottom of the creature as it runs through the battlefield, which I think looks alright. It would have been cool to have a little bit of extra playability to actually have a minifigure sit there and ride and hold the restraints if you actually had those chains reach all the way, but I think it's okay for what it is, especially because, again, in the movie, you rarely saw these being ridden by Chitauri. They kind of just operated on their own. It's a decent, little build. I don't even know if this is as much value as I would give a mech. This is $8 value, let's say that. And again, we will be getting back to the value because I have a lot of thoughts on the value of this set. Again, if you want to have it hold a minifigure on its back, you can actually do that. There are studs on the back where you can place a figure, but then again, you just really can't have those chains reach back at all. It's not even close in the realm of reasonability, so it's really not meant for a minifigure to be riding it. Other than this, there are only a couple of other small side builds in the set, and the side builds are what I would call polybag style side builds. They really are just super bare minimum basic builds with not that much going on, and the first one here is a little bit of landscape for Thor. There's a portal on the side of him, and it's meant to connect up to the larger scale Avengers Endgame final battle, which released earlier this year for $100. Another very overpriced set in my opinion, but it has all the clips necessary to attach. There are barrels there which hold some of the extra ammunition, like the studs used the Chitauri blasters, and there's a little bit of a piece to pose Thor, kind of like he's bursting outwards from a jolt of electricity, but honestly, this is basically your standard polybag fare. Same goes for these Chitauri speeders, which I actually really like. They do feel reminiscent of Space Police 3 and some of the original LEGO space themes to me in the way they're designed. I just feel like they're very sleek and unique in their design, so I do like them for what they are. They're just really small. I like that we get two of them so we can kind of imagine them swooshing around the battlefield. They do have these stud shooters on the fronts as well, which do look suitably alien in the technology, kind of the way they're integrated into the build, so I think those are nice, but honestly, the Chitauri are a very uninteresting enemy force to me because we have gotten so many of them over the years. They're kind of like the battle droids of Marvel, where they basically are just the standard villain opponent on any Endgame or Avengers 1 style of set, so I think they're okay to get, but just not the most interesting things to me. And so we have to talk about what I think of this set as a whole, because again, on its own, let's throw price out of the window. Let's imagine in a wonderful world, maybe somewhere in the multiverse of madness, this set has a reasonable price. $30. Maybe even 25, and you could get rid of two of the Chitauri, just have two Chitauri versus the two heroes, or the three heroes actually, and make it $30, $25, $30, and I think this could be a very solid battle set. It's not really a battle pack, although it's kind of trying to be one with 4 different Chitauri warriors to face off against your heroes, because obviously you don't want a battle army build Thor and War Machine and Rocket, so if they wanted to do a full-on battle pack, it should have just had Chitauri, but then the set would have been super boring. But all of that is thrown out the window when we remember the price is $55 US. I'm going to share my final thoughts on the price in a second, but I do want to jump into the minifigures really quickly here, starting off with Iron Patriot / War Machine. James Rhodes here is in a really cool design, and I like that we finally got this as a minifigure after literally waiting years to get this depicted in minifigure form. You can flip up the visor, and honestly, I miss the original head they used for War Machine. They used to have one that actually showed the red around his visor that was literally made for him, and I don't really know why they stopped using it, but otherwise the figure is really cool. We get a new version of Rocket Raccoon in his dark blue and dark red outfit here, and I think it looks pretty good, very accurate to the movie. One thing LEGO did do in themes like Monkey Kid was color the front stripe on the rubberized piece in between the legs so it doesn't break up the color scheme of the minifigure, which I think would have been really nice to just have a line of dark blue coloration on the tail, but obviously that would have cost extra budget, and LEGO Marvel is absolutely one of the themes that is in dire need of budget. For some reason, it's very obvious when it comes to LEGO Marvel that they're really trying to cut corners on the minifigures where possible. Thor is technically new because we have the rubberized cape being used with the lightning torso, which technically originates from Avengers 1 and the first Thor movies, so it doesn't really fit this scene, but honestly it's close enough to his Endgame appearance that I think it's alright. It's not like Captain America, for instance, where he just clearly is in the wrong outfit, like it looks completely wrong. This one is close enough to what he wore in Endgame that I think it's okay. Stormbreaker has a new brick-built design which actually showcases lightning behind it, which I think is actually pretty cool. I like the addition of the lightning piece behind there to kind of show the lightning emanating from the hammer itself, but altogether, I think this is just an okay minifigure, especially with no leg printing and really nothing that ties it directly into Endgame other than the head with the beard. And of course, we've seen the Chitauri a million times. The set comes with 4 of them, which I guess is nice if you want to army build them, but it is kind of strange just to have 4 of those minifigures in this one set. Altogether, I can sort of see where LEGO is coming from by pricing this at $55. On paper, it has 7 different minifigures. It's almost more of a minifigure pack than it is a playset, but it is very strange to me because most of those minifigures are not that interesting. Nobody really cares that much, as far as I know, about army building the Chitauri to a great extent, and to be honest, I just feel like $55 is so ridiculously overpriced for a set that literally only has around 300 some pieces that it is just outside of the realm of reasonability altogether. There is no way I can justify paying anywhere close to the full price for this set. And again, while obviously these sets are sent to me by LEGO for free, and I'm very happy with that, and I'm very thankful and grateful for that, it is my job on YouTube to give an honest review, and it would not be in good faith for me to say, hey, LEGO sent me this for free, so I think you should buy it for $55, because that's just not how I operate. If I think this isn't worth it, I will say it, and this is not worth it. So for me personally, I would say wait for a sale. If you're dying to get your hand on the new Iron Patriot minifigure, which, I mean, maybe you were back in 2019, but I don't really know if anybody nowadays is really dying to get that, then maybe it's worth picking up, but honestly, I would say wait for a big sale. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks, and bye for now.